Brothers and sisters, dear viewers, brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to another episode of AHKAM SOS. And this season is live from the Holy Land of Abi Abdullah al-Hussein and his beloved brother Abil Fadl al-Abbas. A show, and as you all know, this show is dedicated to be discussing Islamic do's and don'ts and to be answering all of your questions, inshallah. And you can send in your questions via WhatsApp or the YouTube comments, or you can give us a call via the numbers presented to you at the bottom of the screen, or you could just scan the barcode presented to you alongside with the numbers. But before we get into the show, I am your host Musa Ali, and I would like to introduce our honorable guest, Sheikh Ali Maash. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
How are you tonight?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Sheikhna, we have a few questions from the previous night. The first question is from WhatsApp, and it is as follows. What is the ruling on a family member practicing black magic in the family, also being Muslim? Should they avoid contact or break contact with them?
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى أخيك أبي الفضل العباس ورحمة الله وبركاته. Of course, the magic is not permissible in Islam to be practiced where it would harm others. And this individual needs advice, and one should speak to them with good manners and akhlaq. Billati hiya ahsan. We try to guide those individuals who have fallen into the acts of sin. It could be black magic, it could be drinking, na'udhu billah, of alcohol, it could be addiction of drugs, and so forth. We have to try to advise those individuals and do not just, in the first instance, just ignore them and reject them and kick them out of the society, of the community, of the group, of the family as well. So one should try their best to advise them and guide them ala kulli hal to the right path.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question, and it is via YouTube. It says, when a female is on their monthly cycle, can they touch the pages of the Quran, and must one always wear a hijab when reading the Holy Quran?
If it's outside the prayers, hijab is not required. But in anyhow, as the Quran mentions, لا يمسه إلا المطهرون, that only the purified ones would be able to touch the Quran. Of course, different interpretations, tafsir, that it means those with spiritual tahara, for example. Anyhow, one should not touch the verses of the Holy Quran without purification and tahara. That's important. You must be tahir and with wudu to be able to touch the verses of the Holy Quran.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question. I believe it is via WhatsApp or YouTube. It says, some countries announce the beginning of an Islamic month before another country has announced it. For example, Australia announces Friday as the first day of a month because, for instance, Iran has announced it. Should one follow their community's information or follow the moon sighting in their own country?
You have to initially follow your marja''s fatwa with regards to the horizon of each country. Is it a united horizon, wahdat al-ufuq, or not, and so forth. So that's number one. Number two, of course, you have to follow your country's basically moon sighting if it's not related to, let's say, to the Middle East, for example. Some countries in Europe would rely on Iraq and Iran. If they see the moon, they would start the month, and of course they would end the month as a result of relying on the east towards the west. So it depends, again, as I've said, you have to see your marriage opinion in this regard, and if you're actually in locations that you have to see you cite your own, as those who are in Canada and US and Mexico, that they have to cite it themselves. So it depends really on the location where you're based on.
Thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question via WhatsApp. It says, Salamun alaikum. I am Ahmed. I'm wondering if it is haram to use a paraphrasing tool and copy my friend's work and submit it to complete assignments. So like he would take, it would get someone to do his homework or take homework or copy his homework from a colleague or...
As I've mentioned before, that Ayatollah Sistani would emphasize the fact that you have to respect the law. If there's a law in education sector, in financial sector, in government sector, you have to respect it. If they say you cannot copy, and of course if they discover, they would of course
be expelled or suspended.
Exactly. So you have to follow the rules of the education system.
Inshallah, thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question. It says, Assalamu alaikum. Inshallah, you're having a good Ramadan so far. Thank you very much. I have a question, if possible, you can answer. Inshallah, will be at your service. I need an English translated version of the Quran. I know the translation is never fully accurate, but please refer me to one that the translation is decent. Dear viewer, inshallah, will be at your service. We'll forward you a link to an accurate, inshallah, accurate as possible of the Holy Quran. Thank you very much.
There's a dua, let me just mention before you
at your service, Sheikhna.
Inshallah, jazakumullah khaira. One of the ad'iyah for the daily dua in the month of Ramadan, the short ad'iyah, we ask Allah Azza wa Jal and we talk to Allah in this regard. We say, Allahumma ja'alni fihi min al-mustaghfirin. Oh Allah, place us with those who repent, those who say istighfar in these holy nights, in the sahar of the month of Ramadan, that we ask Allah repentance, tawbah, from our past sins. وَاجْعَلْنِي فِيهِ مِنْ عِبَادِكَ الصَّالِحِينَ. So the first stage is to purify us from the sins, to cleanse us. Now that we have been past this stage and elevate towards the next level, which is to become and to be placed within the righteous servants of Allah Azza wa Jal, mu'mineen, salihin. Then we go to the next and elevate to the next phase and level. وَاجْعَلْنِي فِيهِ مِنْ أَوْلِيَائِكَ الْمُتَّقِينَ.
Allahu Akbar.
That's the top level in which I become, wali, a friend of Allah Azza wa Jal, and be pious and gain piety. Because taqwa means to refrain from the sins and haram acts and to fulfill and implement the obligatory and wajib acts. That's taqwa. If you have those two, you're muttaqi. That's it. Because without taqwa, if I, for example, go out in the streets and look at the opposite agenda with lust, with temptation, of course, I don't have that strong taqwa. I haven't reached that level of taqwa to avoid the haram. And likewise, the sisters who would wear makeup in the streets, and of course, that would attract the opposite gender as a result.
Correct.
That is against the taqwa. Taqwa means to obey Allah Azza wa Jal in the muharramat, refrain it, and to implement and do the wajibat that Allah has ordered. برأفتك يا أكرم الأكرمين. We ask Allah with His mercy, with His generosity, to actually allow us to reach this level of taqwa in this holy month of Ramadan, inshallah.
Inshallah, thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question. It says, via WhatsApp also, Assalamu alaikum. At my workplace, I have been praying salah in a particular direction which is established via an online Qibla compass. I recently entered the prayer room when someone else was praying in there, and they were praying in the complete opposite direction of me. What do I do? And if it turns out that by some mistake my compass was wrong?
If it's opposite the direction, so it's the Qibla was just back, on the back side, just opposite side, then you have to repeat your salah. That's the problem, Within 90 degrees should be fine, 90 degrees. But if it exceeds this 90 degrees and it's opposite, you have to redo the salah and make it up later as qada.
Inshallah, thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question via YouTube. It says, can I eat fish from a non-Muslim restaurant?
Usually we would buy the fish from non-Muslim supermarkets in UK, for example. So, and it's not a condition that, like the halal meat and chicken, that for the fish, what is important that it's being brought out from the water by a human being, let's say, with a tool, with a net, and so forth, and to die outside the water, not inside the water. It doesn't matter if he's a Muslim or non-Muslim. There's no issue with it. The issue is if there's a cross-contamination of najasa. Sometimes they would fry the fish
Yeah.
with the same container of let's say sausage, pork. That's the issue that makes the fish najis. Or sometimes the fish would be haram, for example, squid, I don't know, crabs. That's the issue. You have to make sure that number one, it's a halal fish with scales. Number two, there's no cross-contamination of najasa when cooked. So that's important.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question via WhatsApp. Excuse me. Does my daughter, she's 14 years old, have to wear hijab in front of my maternal uncle, my mom, or my mom's brother? He's over 70 years old, and please advise, jazakumullah. Inshallah, this question we'll have a phone call afterwards.
Yeah. Let's say if I have an uncle and I've got a daughter, she's halal to my uncle as a result.
Bali.
So he's my uncle, so she will be halal also to my uncle as well.
Bali. Inshallah, thank you very much. I believe we have a phone call. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum assalam, how are you?
I'm doing great, brother. Thank you very much. And Ramadan Mubarak to you. May Allah accept your deeds, inshallah.
May Allah accept all your prayers and amals, inshallah.
Thank you very much, brother. At your service, inshallah, we'll be answering your question, inshallah. Thank you very much.
Inshallah, yes. So my question is, I have a sister who goes to school, and she's fasting during the whole
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
I have one of my siblings who goes to school during the holy month of Ramadan, and they are holding their fast. Now, during the day, they feel a bit sick, and the teacher has told them they have to break their fast and drink some water just to feel a bit better. Is it permissible for them to break their fast because of the advice of the teacher, or do they have to hold their fast until the iftar time?
Thank you very much, brother. We're at your service, inshallah, we'll answer your question. Thank you very much. I believe you got the question, Sheikh.
Yes, basically, if she is in extreme weakness, then she can do so. In extreme thirst, extreme hunger, she can do so. According to some fatwa, that she's only allowed to eat a portion of that, let's say, bread or sandwich or a bit of water that needed, necessary, and then continue her fast till the Maghrib Shari'i time, and then to make up that day after the month of Ramadan without kafara, of course. Inshallah.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. May Allah bless you, inshallah. We have another question via YouTube. It says, is a person still a Shia even if they don't curse the munafiqeen?
You see, the aqidah usually begins with the heart. If you have the tawalla and tabara in your heart, that's the main thing. Aqidah is to, or the belief is something to be in one's heart, to believe it. Like usul al-din, to believe in Allah Azza wa Jal, to believe in the prophethood, the adlullah Azza wa Jal, the imam and the ma'ad. So it's in the heart. So of course, sometimes one is in a condition, in a certain location in which he cannot basically expose this aqidah, show this aqidah in public, fearing the enemies of Allah Azza wa Jal. So it depends on one's condition and location.
Bali, inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question, I believe also via YouTube. It says, does the steam break your fast?
If it's a dense or thick steam, like a cigarette, for example, shisha, for example, yes, they would break the fast. In a few, steam wouldn't really break the fast, as we see, for example, when we iron our clothes, for example. But the thick and dense steam would, of course, like the smoking would definitely break the fast.
But inshallah, thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question. It says, if one quotes something as the word of Allah or the Prophet or the infallible Imam with the belief that is correct, but then it becomes evident to him that its ascription to Allah or the Prophet or the Imam is not true, what happens to his fast?
Well, his fast is not invalidated and it's not batil because he didn't mean to narrate a false hadith. Sometimes it happens within our circles as lecturers and speakers on the pulpit, in which we narrate a hadith from the non-Shia sources, which are not right definitely, for example. But we try to bring the sources to do citation and quotations in which it's mentioned in this Sahih, for example, of the non-Shia sect, and they narrate it, not us, for example. So we try to avoid narrating. It's a difficult task for lecturers, to be honest. But some would even try not to narrate a hadith in the daytime, just to be on the safe side. So no, that's done unintentionally. That should be fine.
Bali. Inshallah, thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question. Before we get back into the questions, brothers and sisters, I would like to remind you that you can send in your questions via WhatsApp or YouTube comments, in regards to any marji' you follow, or you can give us a call via the numbers presented to you at the bottom of the screen, or you could just scan the barcode presented to you alongside the screen. Give us a call, send in your questions, and inshallah, we'll be at your service. We have another question, Sheikhna, and it says, what is the ruling for the prisoner who is not able to ascertain the month of Ramadan?
Well, initially he should base it on his guess, that, because sometimes you have in sadly some countries where there's a suppression or oppression against a specific let's say Shia of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, other sects in which they are suppressed, and they have, for example, dungeons where you cannot define and find out the day from the night.
Correct, yeah.
So in this case, one can actually guess. If they can't guess, they can choose, let's say, one of the months and fast that month. Just presume that it could be the month of Ramadan. Of course, there are ahkam with the prisoners. There's a fiqh, sujun, kada. They have details that if he comes out from the prison and he discovers that it was month of Rabi' al-Awwal or Sha'ban or Rajab, what's the hukum? So there are, of course, fiqh for those who are in prison. For example, we had many of those who were in Iraq, previous regimes, prisons.
Correct.
With their najasa, with their blood, all over their body because of the torture. How could they pray? For example, with full najasa, from all sides of najasat. So could they pray? Ulama differ that if he's, for example, if he's faqid al-tahurain, he's got no tahara at all, he doesn't have to pray, for example. He does it afterwards as qada. Someone said, no, you have to pray, because we have a hadith which says, la tutrika as-salah bihal. You cannot leave salah at all. Even with the najasa, you have to pray, for example.
Correct.
So we have ahkam specific for the prisoners in anyhow.
Inshallah, thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question. It says, if one believes that fasting does not constitute harm to him, and then fasts, and after Maghrib learns that fasting is indeed harmful to him, is he obliged to offer the qada?
No, he is not obliged to offer the qada. His fast is valid, it's fine, because he found out later, after the iftar, for example, that it was harmful. But he doesn't. The fast is valid.
Inshallah, thank you very much. We have another question in regards to the 14-year-old that asked if he has to wear the hijab in front of his uncle. Does that mean she must wear the hijab?
Now, as I've said, there's no need to wear hijab. She is halal, because the uncle of her father is like her uncle. It's halal. There's no need for them to cover themselves. It's halal ala kulli hal. My uncle is like her uncle.
Correct.
So it goes through the lineage.
Inshallah, thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question. It says, if a person presumes that fasting harms him and he develops a fear from that presumption, is it obligatory for him to fast?
Because of this harm that he presumes there's a harm, it's not. He's not allowed to fast in this way. It's wajib for him not to fast. And if he or she do so, they fast with presuming the harm, then their fast is not valid, because there's harm. You cannot fast where there's a harm.
No.
You might fall ill and you cannot basically be able to continue with the situation, with the illness. So one should not fast if they think that there's a harm on them.
Inshallah, thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question via YouTube. It says, is there any specific a'mal one can do when suffering from anxiety and depression?
Initially, one should refer back to the physicians and psychiatrists or experts in medical fields and science with regards to treating those individuals. The best thing to go back to your doctor and try to see experts in hospitals with this regard. That's very important. Of course, there are amal, there are ad'iyah in which there are also experts in the spiritual field in which they would give ad'iyah from Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, verses from the Holy Quran. To treat such individuals, one should go back to those experts.
Inshallah, thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question via WhatsApp. It says, Assalamu alaikum. Please, what is the best book of tafsir for the Quran?
As one of the ulama recommended, Tafsir al-Safi would be one of the best books to read. Of course, tafsir that has hadith of Ahlul Bayt would be, of course, number one in terms of referring back as a reference for learning the meanings of the ayat from the words of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. As I mentioned last time about qawl al-zur, that what does zur means, for example, ghina, songs, for example. So one should avoid listening to songs and the singers' lyrics and so forth. So we go back to Ahlul Bayt to see what are these verses trying to tell us from the Ahlul Bayt al-Tayyibin al-Tahirin, salamullah alayhim ajma'in.
Salamullah alayhim ajma'in. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another phone call. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.
At your service, Sister Ramadan Mubarak, and may Allah accept your deeds.
You too, inshallah.
At your service, Sister.
I have a question.
At your service.
I have a question for the Sheikh.
Inshallah.
At your service.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamu wa rahmatullah.
My question is, if a Muslim has not had adhan and iqama recited in their ears as a newborn, can it be recited during their lifetime, and who must recite it?
Ahsantum.
At your service, Sister. Thank you very much.
Well, it's better to be recited when the child is born, but I don't know if one can recite it when they are grown up, 16, 17 years old. I have to see this because I haven't had such an experience before. Usually they would recite when the baby is born, but after, let's say, 10, 15 years, I have to see and refer back to see if such masala is available, inshallah. I'll look into it, inshallah.
Inshallah, thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question via WhatsApp. It says, if a woman is in the state of janaba and is finishing her monthly cycle, does she need to do two separate ghusuls? So for one for the monthly cycle and one for the janaba?
I will refer back, inshallah, to this question later, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question via YouTube. It says, is it permissible for women to dance in front of another woman, or for men to dance in front of another man in a gender-wise segregated gathering?
You see, the current fatwa by the ulama, many of the ulama would say that the only dancing which is allowed is between the husband and the wife. Other than that, it's not permissible. So, in the gatherings of, let's say, wedding, women cannot dance with each other, for example, or the men as well.
Yeah.
There's a fatwa with this regard. One can go back to the fatwa of their marja to see. But I think many of them would not allow this. Only the exception with husband and the wife.
Bale.
And in an isolated place, away from the people, the men and the women. So that's the only exception which is allowed.
Inshallah, thank you very much, Sheikh. I believe we have another phone call. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
May Allah bless you, brother. Ramadan Mubarak, and may Allah accept your deeds, inshallah.
Thank you very much. You too.
May Allah bless you, inshallah, brother. At your service.
I have two questions for the Sheikh. I'll put them through, then I'll listen during the live. Number one, you said the wife is allowed to dance in front of the husband. But Sheikhna, isn't music not even permitted in Islam? So how is the wife supposed to dance? Number two, Sheikhna, I follow Wahid Khurasani and Naidif in Sweden. Our fasting time is very long. And apparently there's a fatwa by Ayatollah Shirazi which allows us to break our fast with an Islamic country. Can you please go into some details on that, please?
At your service, brother. Thank you very much. May Allah bless you, inshallah.
Of course, when we say that, or the fatwa say that a husband or a wife can dance in front of each other, it doesn't mean that they can play the music. Music is haram. So and somehow they can, على كل حال, they can maybe play nasheed, I don't know, and listen to that nasheed, I don't know. And somehow they can do so, but without, of course, the music. Music is haram. Anyhow, the corruptive, as mentioned by some fatawa, the corruptive intending music, jazz, rock, what else we have, DJ. Of course, these are haram music. They can't play it and dance because it's halal for them to perform, dance in front of each other, for example. So we shouldn't mix haram with halal, for example, as a result of this is being halal, for example. With regards to the duration, this fatwa was actually by Ayatollah Shirazi a long time ago, when the fasting time was in summer, in which we had long hours of fasting. Let's say in Norway and Sweden, it would reach up to 20 hours, 21 hours of daytime fasting. Long hours. It's almost unbearable. Almost. I don't want to say absolutely, but almost. But many who follow the Sistani, they try to fast. I've been in contact with many of them. They fast. They could to manage it somehow. Some, for example, traveled to the holy city of Mashhad, and they stayed there for a whole month to complete their fast. But the fatwa was there that those who live in such regions with long hours of daytime, they can actually open their fast according to an Islamic city: Karbala, Najaf, Mecca, Medina, let's say Sana'a in Yemen, Qom, Tehran, and all those, whatever country is there within the Islamic region, because that's a normal time zone for fasting, as it was in the time of the Ma'asum alayhi salam. 17 hours, 17 and a half, 18 hours, let's say. More than that, it's abnormal hours.
Correct.
Yes, we have a verse which says وَأَتِمُّ الصِّيَامَ إِلَى اللَّيْلِ. But what kind of layl is this? That's over 21 hours, for example. It's abnormal. So we have to go back to normal hours and open the fast according to the times of the one of the Islamic cities of your choice, of course.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question via YouTube. It says many people answers to prevent sinning and is fear to Allah. But how can they love Allah if they fear Him? Does this not destroy one's relationship with God or Allah?
You see, because of our sins, that we fear the punishment in somehow. Those who, I think there was a question asked by one of the companions, and he responded that because you have destroyed your akhirah and built your dunya as a result. When I built my dunya, what halal, haram with everything, I just want to make money. Of course, I have destroyed my akhirah. So when I have to be fearful that I'm going to face Allah Azza wa Jal and to be accountable for all this money gained, because they will ask him that, where did you get this money from? Where did you spend it? And so forth. So if I've spent all that money in haram, then of course there's going to be punishment. So the fear is because of our sins, wrongdoings, that we have to be accountable for.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. Brothers and sisters, at your service, inshallah, we'll be accepting your questions via YouTube or the YouTube comments, or you can give us a call via the numbers presented to you at the bottom of the screen, or you could just scan the barcode presented to you alongside the numbers. But for the time being, we'll take a very short break to leave you with the beautiful atmosphere of Karbala this night. Thank you very much, and do stay tuned.
have a question regarding keeping pictures of
Is it
scholars
permissible
at
to
home.
plant trees by or
Was
over
Islam
the graves?
established based on peace and
Is it permissible
non-violence?
to collect donations for charity projects from
Is it permitted to consume canned food imported from non-Muslim
Is there an
countries?
issue for men looking at non-Muslim women?
To have your questions answered live, WhatsApp us on +44 7415 092155.
Dear brothers and sisters, dear viewers, welcome once again to this exclusive season of Ahkam SOS, live from the holy city of Karbala. And as you all know, the show is dedicated to be discussing the Islamic do's and don'ts and to be answering all of your questions, inshallah. And as I mentioned before, you can send in your questions via WhatsApp or the YouTube comments, or you can just give us a call via the number presented to you at the bottom of the screen, or just scan the barcode presented to you alongside with the numbers, inshallah. We get back into the questions, inshallah, Sheikhna. We have another question via YouTube, WhatsApp, sorry. It says, Sayyid Sistani has advised that interest from banks are allowed when the Quran has forbidden riba and our Sunni brothers have forbidden it. Why is it okay for us?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Well, many of the ulama today would mention that to give interest, let's say use credit card.
Yeah.
You cannot use it if you have money, let's say, in your savings, for example. You can use it unless you're in need of. That's why I use my credit card.
Yeah.
And I pay an amount of interest because I, compelled to do so. I have to pay bills, cost of living, and so forth. My income is so low that I have debts, for example. So I use my credit card as a result. So I'm compelled to do so. So they would allow some of the ulama with being desperate to use your credit card and pay interest. Of course, in terms of receiving the interest, if you have savings and you receive, of course, ulama would also, some of the ulama would allow for the one to receive from the non-Muslim country interest, but you have to pay khumus on this interest.
Yeah.
Of course, we have to see the dalil for this reason. Is it, how could it be that we can receive interest? We have to see the dalil of the ulama. We usually read out or answer the questions which is just no. If it's a specific, let's say, jalasa of to define the reasons, of course, we need a specific episodes to discuss the dalil each fatwa, which is, of course, this is for the ulama.
Inshallah. Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question via YouTube. It says, is it permissible for me as a female to attend dancing lessons in a female-only classroom?
The ulama would not allow this at all, no, in overall. Yes, it's problematic to attend dancing because they're going to play music as well. As a result, correct. You have to dance according to the music. It's mushkil.
Bali. Yeah. Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question via YouTube. It says, is gambling halal on horse riding?
You said gambling. Gambling is haram.
Bali.
No, it's not permissible. Be it on horse riding or anything else. Gambling is forbidden. You cannot gamble on anything.
Bali.
It's forbidden. Betting, gambling, it's not permissible.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question. It says, it is also via YouTube. It says, Assalamu alaikum. Why is music haram and Prophet Dawood used to sing? I've never heard this.
We need evidence for that he used to sing. That's number one. Number two, music, ala kulli hal, brings corruption to the society.
Correct.
So, those who go to music sessions, in nightclubs, what is the result and the end? The music, basically, these music would be the key towards the acts of vice, adultery, na'udhu billah, drink. It brings the participants of the music, and that's alcohol, women, kada kada ila akhirih. I don't want to talk more than that. So it's a place of vice. You would listen to something which is vain. What does that mean? For example, let me just, sometimes I would hear of some people that would say it, I like to do it. You want to do what? So do what? Zina? Is this how they would teach us, the singers, to do zina with the opposite gender, for example? To do what? So you see, when you see the lyrics and you hear them, it's going to be so bad, يعني, in terms of أخلاقيا, morally. It's immoral, واقعا, indecent.
You know, it implements a very corrupt image.
Exactly.
In one's mind when they listen, you know, one song after another.
You try to place music in the Day of Judgment.
Yeah.
Where do you place it? In paradise with the Salihin, Mu'min, or in hell? It's up to you. You make the decision.
Yeah.
With the prophets or with the Ahlul Nar and the hellfire.
But inshallah, thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question via YouTube. It says, every Ramadan I am falling ill. You know, infections, flu, generally unwell. Should I catch up the fasting at another time? And what is the rule regarding the obligatory fasts during Ramadan if one keeps falling ill?
You see, again, it depends on how severe is the illness. Is it so difficult for the one, makes it so weak? Then, of course, one is marid, can open and break their fast. But if it's just a flu and above temperature, you have to basically live with it. You know, it's not something severe. So it depends how the severeness of the illness. It depends really. You have to see the doctor, for example, seek his advice, and then see yourself if you can, bear the fast for the day.
Inshallah, thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question via WhatsApp. It says, when is it good or necessary to perform an istikhara?
Istikhara, usually I would do it, and many of the ulama would do it بين الطلوعين, between the Fajr Adhan and sunrise. That's the best time, and especially on the eve of Friday, Laylat Jum'ah. The best time is to do the istikhara. Is, of course, other times are also good, but in overall, what I've seen the ulama would do between the dawn and the sunrise. After Salat al-Subh, for example, you pray and you start the istikhara.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question. It says, what is the ruling concerning the smoke of burning scents reaching the throat of a fasting person?
Well, again, if it's a thick smoke reaching the throat, of course, that would make the fast invalid and batil. Depends how thick is the smoke. Otherwise, it wouldn't break the fast, if it's just a light smoke, let's say.
Inshallah, thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question. It says, is it necessary for a person who wishes to fast to pick his teeth?
It's not mandatory and wajib for the one to pick his teeth, or even to brush his teeth with a toothbrush, for example. But it's better just to avoid any remaining food between the teeth that could be, for example, in the daytime. He should avoid swallowing all these particles or small bits of food. But it's not wajib. You have to brush or you have to pick your teeth and so forth.
Inshallah, thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have, and brothers and sisters, before we get back into the questions, I would like to remind you all that you can send in your questions via the YouTube Live. Just drop your questions down in the comment section below, or send us your questions via WhatsApp, or you can give us a call as well via the number presented to you at the bottom of the screen, or you could just scan the barcode presented to you alongside with the numbers, and inshallah we'll be at your service in answering all of your questions. With regards to any marji' you all follow, inshallah, we'll be at your service, and thank you very much. We have another question via WhatsApp. It says, I am working in a company and supposed to shake hands with customers, male or female. If we don't do that, it would be considered impolite, and there is a risk of losing my job and suffering the aftermath. What should I do?
You have two options. Number one is to wear gloves. To wear gloves and without any skin-to-skin touch, because that's the haram. Skin-to-skin touch by opposite gender, that's the haram. You can wear gloves and shake hands. Otherwise, you have to change your job. You cannot disobey Allah Azza wa Jal because of income. Allah is the Razzaq. He is the sustainer. Have faith in Allah Azza wa Jal, and inshallah you'll get a better job. If you couldn't wear the gloves or as a result, then you have to change your job. And Allah is the one who would, inshallah, offer you better, inshallah,
Inshallah.
opportunity
Yeah.
and rizq as well, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question via YouTube. It says, Salamun alaikum. Is vaping haram if it has nicotine? Is it halal if it's just a fruit flavor, like without the nicotine?
No, nicotine is not a part of the class A, I don't know, drugs and A, B or C drugs. That's allowed, I think, in terms of the classification of the drugs. It's like cigarette, which has nicotine as well. That's not haram.
Yeah. So in general, vaping is...
Yeah, but for the month of Ramadan, you cannot do so if it has a thick steam or smoke in the daytime. That will break your fast. So you have to be careful when it comes to the daytime of the month of Ramadan. You're fasting, you should avoid any types of smoking, and which would break your fast as a result.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question via YouTube. It says, what is the ruling on smoking shisha as a husband and wife together? Is it haram?
In terms of hurma, there's no evidence for hurma or forbiddenness of smoking, be it cigarette or shisha or pipe or anything else. There's no hurma. Ulama wouldn't... Of course, some would say it could be makruh in some cases, it could be for the beginners maybe. Different opinions, available. But in anyhow, there's no strong evidence which says it's haram. Of course, one should avoid it for the purpose of one's health. But as a hurma, you cannot say it's haram. There's no evidence for it. Yes, for the drugs, because there's immediate harm, of course, that's haram in terms of drugs. But for the smoking, we need a strong dalil and evidence for that to become haram. Otherwise, it's permissible. Now, regardless of being, some would say, makruh, or to begin it, for example, and so forth.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question via YouTube. It says, what is the Islamic ruling in regards to swallowing one's own pelgam?
What's that, sorry?
What is the Islamic ruling in regards to swallowing one's own pelgam? The saliva that accumulates in the throat or in the chest. And
if you're fasting, you have to avoid swallowing when it comes in your mouth. So just, I think we call it mucus in UK.
Mucus, mucus.
It's mucus. We call it mucus, So if it comes in the mouth area, you have to basically throw it out from the mouth and don't swallow it. But saliva you can swallow it. That's fine. But the mucus from the chest all the way to the nose and the mouth, when it comes to the area of the mouth, you have to throw away.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question via WhatsApp. It says, Salamun alaikum. Does getting vitamins through an IV break one's fast?
What's that, sorry?
Through an IV, like through an injection.
No, I've said all types of injections are allowed except the enema injection from the, which goes towards the stomach, the liquid, which is injected through the lower part of the body towards the stomach. That would break the fast. Otherwise, injections in overall would not break the fast.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question via YouTube. It says, is CBD oil halal as science-based? It has many health benefits.
We have to see exactly what CBD is. I mean, are there still the traces of drugs, in that oil, or has it been extracted? And then we have to see what the ulama's opinion with this regard. Is it allowed, not allowed? So we have to work on this question, inshallah.
Inshallah. We'll be forwarding that question, inshallah, to the dear viewer that sent it, inshallah. We have another question via YouTube. It says, what is the ruling on taking an inhaler during fasting according to Sistani?
For the asthma, they would allow it unless there are particles. If the asthma goes through the lungs, that should be fine. But through the, the problem is if there are particles, let's say like ashes or dust, that's a problem that could break the fasting somehow. But it seems to be what I've read from the ulama's opinion, that should be fine in terms of, if it goes through the lung, of course. That should be fine.
Okay.
Yes, it's like a gas. It's not like actually dust or ashes. So should be fine, inshallah.
Correct, inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question via WhatsApp. It says, Salamun alaikum. Please, is it allowed to go to a female barber as a male if she wears gloves? And thank you.
You see, these are mawatin, or the locations in which shaitan would play a part in terms of temptation, arousal of lust. Yes, she's wearing gloves and so forth, but it's not something one can actually say yes or no. Fully protective. I'm not going to touch on. It's mawatin al-shaitan. Shaitan would be there, and somehow, ala kulli hal, one should avoid. We have, mashallah, lots of same-gender barbers. I don't think we would run out from the male barbers one day, unless it's corona or la samahullah, then it's a different story.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question via YouTube. It says, is it haram not to reach out to any siblings or relatives who do haram things?
You see, we are in a day and age in which we have to advise the sinners. We have to sit with them, talk to them, advise them, and not to cut our links and relationship as a result of their sins. We have to be with them, and Allah Azza wa Jalla guide them. وَبِالَّتِي يَحْسَنُ. We use the best methods. We apply akhlaq Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam in this regard. Talk to them. Unless they would have their influence on our family and children, of course, then I have to avoid. But if I'm strong, with a strong iman, I can make the changes. Why not? No, keep the contacts with them and try to, inshallah, guide them towards the right path, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you very much. Brothers and sisters, before we get back into the questions, I would like to remind you all that you can give us a call via the numbers presented to you at the bottom of the screen, or you can scan the barcode presented to you alongside with the numbers, or you can just send us a message via WhatsApp, or just drop the comments in the comment section of our YouTube live, and inshallah we'll be at your service and answering all of your questions, inshallah. Sheikhna, we have another question via YouTube. It says, Assalamu alaikum. I don't have any question, but I want to say that you are in front of Imam Hussein shrine. Please pray for me to come here. At your service, inshallah, Sheikhna, if you could not forget that, brother, in your dua.
Inshallah, when I go to the haram, inshallah.
May Allah bless you, inshallah. Thank you very much. And also, if you could pray for all the viewers as well.
We pray, inshallah, for all of them, inshallah. And the sahar of the month of Ramadan, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you very much. We have a question also. It says, I am sent by my company during the month of Ramadan to another city, some 1,000 kilometers away for 4 days for the purpose of work, and it is not permanent. Do I offer full or short prayers, and do I need to fast or not?
You see, the frequent traveler, or the mukathir al-safar, is the one who leaves his city for work. Let's say 10 days a month, according to some opinions. 10 days a month he's away, or let's say 3 days a week he's away for work outside the city, and he travels, let's say 200 miles, or let's say 50 miles a day, back home, work home, and so forth. So he is or she is kathir al-safar, frequent traveler. They have to complete their salah and to fast as well. 10, 12, 13, 14 days a month they travel for work. They have to fast and pray full as well. But for somebody who goes, once a year for a short term, let's say, company course or a project for 4 days, that's not really a kathir al-safar. You cannot put this title on this individual. It's only 4 days to do some tasks and come back home and to his company. So in this case, they have to shorten their salah, and they must not fast. So they have to break their fast. They are in travel, musafir. In this case, they have to be considered as a musafir, break their fast, and pray short as well. Qasr.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. Unfortunately, we have come to the end of tonight's program. Brothers and sisters, I would like to remind you all that you can send in your questions via WhatsApp or the YouTube comments, or you can just give us a call or copy via the numbers presented to you at the bottom of the screen, or you could just scan the barcode presented to you alongside the numbers. But for the time being, and we do apologize for the brothers and sisters out there that were not able to answer all of their questions due to the lack of time. But for the time being, please do stay tuned for the upcoming shows. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.